Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodha Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodha Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki Shri Vrindavan Dhama ki Mayapur Navadvip Dhama ki Ganga Mai ki Yamuna ki Bhakti Devi ki Tulsi Maharani ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 25, entitled The Descriptions of the Characteristics of King Puranjan, Text 48. Nalini, Nalini, Cha, Prag, Dvaro, Ekatra, Nirmite, Avadhuta, Saka, Tabhyam, Vishayam, Yati, Saurabham, Nalini Nalini Cha Prag, Nalini Nalini Cha Prag, Dvaro Vekatra Nirmite, Dvara Vekatra Nirmite, Avadhuta Sakastabhyam, Avadhuta Sakastabhyam, Vishayang Yati Saurabham, Vishayang yati saurabham. Nalini nalini cha prag. Dvara vekatra nirmite. Avadhuta sakastabhyam. Vishayang yati saurabham. Nalini nalini cha prag. Dvara vekatra nirmite. Avadhuta sakastabhyam. Vishayang yati saurabham. Dvara vekatra nirmite. Avadhuta sakastabhyam. Vishayang yati saurabham. Nalini cha prag. Dvara vekatra nirmite. Avadhuta sakastabhyam. Vishayang yati saurabham. Vaishnavis. Nalini nalini cha prag. Dvara vekatra nirmite. Avadhuta sakastabhyam. Vishayang yati saurabham. Nalini nalini cha prag. Dvara vekatra nirmite. Avadhuta sakastabhyam. Vishayam yati saurabham. Nalini, of the name Nalini. Nalini, of the name Nalini. Cha, also. Prak, eastern. Dvaro, two gates. Ekatra, in one place. Nirmite, constructed. Avadhuta, of the name Avadhuta. Sakha, with his friend. Tabhyam, by those two gates. Vishayam, place. Yati, used to go. Saurabham, of the name Saurabha. Translation. Similarly, in the east there were two sets of gates named Nalini and Nalini, and these were also constructed in one place. Through these gates the king, accompanied by a friend named Avadhuta, used to go to the city of Saurabha. Please repeat. Similarly, in the east, there were two sets of gates named Nalini and Nalini, and these were also constructed in one place. Through these gates, the king, accompanied by a friend named Avadhuta, used to go to the city of Saurabha. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The two gates named Nalini and Nalini are the two nostrils. The living entity enjoys these two gates with the help of different avadhutas or airs, which constitute the breathing process. Through these gates, the living entity goes to the town of Saurabha or aroma. In other words, the nostrils, with the help of their friend the air, enjoy various aromas in the material world. Nalini and Nalini are the pipes of the nostrils, through which one inhales and exhales, enjoying the aroma of sense pleasure. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Yutapadagabalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyas Chakripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadipas Chatyadeshatarine Nalini Nalini Chaprag Dvara Vekatra Nirmite Avaduta Shakashtabhyam Vishayam Yati Saurabham. Similarly, in the east, there were two sets of gates named Nalini and Nalini, and these were also constructed in one place. Through these gates, the king, accompanied by a friend named Avadhut, used to go to the city of Swarup. Hare Krishna. Narada Muni is continuing the discussion with Maharaj Prachinabarisat using this very interesting allegory of King Puranjan, the living entity who is housed in the city of 9 gates, and here we are the stage where each of these 9 gates are being briefly described. It's interesting that at least in this chapter, when reading about these when reading about these 9 gates, just from the text, one would have no idea what's going on. Nalini, Nalini, Avaduta, and Saurabha. There's no way you could have figured this out. We could have figured this out. But thankfully, by the revelations of the great acharyas and Srila Prabhupada distilling all the works of the great acharyas on these important topics, we get to understand Nalini and Nalini being the nostrils, Avaduta being the air, and Saurabha being the aromas that King Puranjan and Avaduta can try to enjoy through the 2 nostrils. So yeah, we are continuing. Yesterday we heard of anybody remember what gates of the body we discussed yesterday? what was it? Avir, Mukha and Kodyata. The two eyes. Very nice description of how these two gates provide pleasure and interactions with the material nature for the living entity. And the purpose of all these gates that are going to be discussed by Narada Muni to slowly and gradually bring Maharaj Prachina Barisat to more clear understanding of his position and as a pure spirit soul, and to appreciate the futility of his attempts to try and enjoy separately from Krishna, the Supreme Lord. This discussion is going through a process of Sankhya Yoga, unpacking the different elements of material nature, specifically directly concerned with the material body, the senses, these gates and so on, and how it all operates, and how, if acting out of accordance with dharma, or the ultimate dharma, which is to exist for the service and pleasure of Krishna, then these same gates, these same senses, everything to do with the body will ultimately lead one to an existence of misery and pain. So here we hearing about these two nostrils. Anybody remember their names? Pronounce it correctly now. It's a very subtle difference. Nalini and Nalini. Anybody knew any ladies by the name of Nalini? So it's like, you can get bewildered. What does this name have to do with nostrils? Next time you look at a lady by the name of Nalini, don't look at her nose now. What does this have to do? The pleasure of the nostrils comes with the help of air, as the verse and Prabhupada explains as well. Without air, one cannot enjoy anything to do with the nostrils without the help of air. There's no smell, there's no sensation whatsoever. So it's completely dependent on air, avaduta. And we realize sometimes, quite often, and maybe in a few weeks' time, we'll all get the opportunity to realize that when it gets colder in winter and we get a stuffy nose, we feel much inconvenience, right? Because we cannot breathe, can't even smell. Or even when, I don't know if any of you have been in very, very high altitudes, like going to Mount Kailash or to the Badrinath and so on, it's not easy to breathe because the air is very thin, rarefied. So without the help of air, the nostrils cannot fully function, and then the living entity in the body cannot really engage in an optimal way. So yes, these two gates, Nalini and Nalini, they are the source, or they facilitate the experience of pleasure. Sometimes pleasure, and also oftentimes the experience of discomfort, pain and stress even, like if one is got a blocked nose or high up in altitude, it becomes very frustrating. So the nose, yes, it helps us experience pleasure, just like, especially in the evenings, when you walk around the moat, especially in summer evenings, what nice smell do you get? The night blooming jasmine, right? Raat ke Rani, the night blooming jasmine, night queen. And it's very, very pleasant to the senses, and you feel very good. But if you walk in other parts of the property, like Dayasindhu Prabhu's compost heap, you may not get the same sensation. Right? Or you walk down to the back gate where the garbage skip is. Also, it's a little... So the same nose is experiencing so many things, and they feeding, it's like an input of information for the mind and intelligence to process and then to act accordingly. Because the sense of smell, these nostrils can protect us or can lead us into a dangerous situation. It gives us information. Like gas leaks, you know. If you can't see the gas, you can't feel any other effect of the gas except through the nose. So one can be protected by a properly functioning sense of smell. I also heard that gas actually, I don't know if it's true, is actually, it has no scent, but they put the scent in. Do you all know that? I mean, I heard that somewhere. I don't know if that's chemistry. Yeah? Is it true? Yeah. So to help us understand the presence of gas is there. Interesting. So yes, this perception of pleasantness or something discomfortable, uncomfortable, it's managed. It's mediated by the nostrils, but ultimately it's dependent on air. Not ultimately, immediately it's dependent on the air, who is the friend of Puranjan, the living entity in question. So we also read from Bhagavad Gita, Purushottam Yoga, the 15th chapter, that just as the living entity carries so many conceptions during one life and from lifetime to lifetime, just like the air, what does it say? Carries different aromas with it. So this, it's interesting, this, the word for air that's used here is called avaduta. Interesting name for Puranjan's friend, for air, avaduta. And we understand the meaning of avaduta is one who is not bound, one who is free from everything. There's no restrictions. There's nothing that can contain an avaduta. No social etiquettes or norms, nothing. It's free to move around as he or she pleases, no restrictions. And another part that we hear from, where is it? Yeah, the 11th canto, the Uddhava Gita. Krishna is discussing with Uddhava about Maharaj Yadu's meeting with this very interesting person, an avaduta, and this he speaks to him, and the avaduta explains how many gurus? 24 gurus he had. And one of the first that he explains about these preceptors he has is air, and discusses how air, even though carries, as it passes through different places, in the form of wind, carries different fragrances. It's not the air, it's not the smell of the air, it just happens to carry, and it goes over another place after time, carries a different. And it just, without thinking, leaves different aromas. So the avaduta is like this. Wherever he wanders, it's fine, picks up different things, but is completely detached, giving a nice understanding for us to live up to what is the meaning of a true yogi, that we pass through so many conceptions in this lifetime, but we cannot be fixed on it. We cannot be locked in or trapped, prisoned by the different conceptions of our life that are based on the body, both gross and subtle, and the extensions of the body, namely family, society, and different affiliations. So, like that. Krishna is explaining to Uddhava through Maharaj Yadu's discussion with the avaduta about the activities of the avaduta. So similarly, the air is like that, very detached, completely detached like that. Anyway, coming back to the nostrils, we see that in this material world, when the living entity is confused and bewildered and becomes very much he very much identifies with the material body, then that living entity becomes very easily bewildered by Maya and begins to enjoy various distractions that these senses latch onto. And Puranjan, he has this, it's described to be an entire city. Sometimes when devotees come from overseas to Durban and they ask us, what can we do in Durban? What are the different sites? And if you really apply your mind to it, it's not too many. And generally I find myself, maybe go to Cape Town, so many nice things going on there. So like us, sometimes we have these bodies, and we look at another person's body and think, wow, they have so much more opportunities to enjoy, a better physique, better eyes. I mean, I never thought I'd ever wear glasses in my life up until 5 or 6 years ago, because it all starts waning. Then you look at a younger person, oh, there's more opportunities for enjoying that city than I have to enjoy in my city. And we start yearning for others' city. Or we start desiring to enjoy another person's city on all levels, subtle and gross, because we may not be satisfied with us. But because we are thinking we are this, which we are not. And that's the classic definition of Maya, that which is not. So we get bewildered, we get distracted, and these senses are facilitating that distraction under the dictates of the modes of material nature. They're facilitating us being pulled away from Krishna, with whom that person, Krishna, who fully and truly resonates with our identity. Everything else we are out of, there's no resonance. For some time maybe it fits in with this body and the material world, but ultimately we find it becomes noise. If you know anything about sound and resonance, if it's out of sync, out of frequency, then it actually becomes disturbing to the true person, the soul. Like one of the distractions we find for the living entity, who is very strongly identifying with the material body, is fragrance or aromas, right? Today, my word, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Fragrances. The one comes to mind because you see it plastered all over on billboards and advertisements is Chanel. Not number 1, not number 2, but number 5. I don't know what was 1, 2, 3, 4 about, but Chanel number 5 specifically, the world's most famous fragrance. It's quite something. And there's so much of endeavor, science, and testing that goes on to create the perfect sense, simply to bewilder a person. That's what it's all focused on, how to bewilder a person, how to use the sense of smell to completely bewilder a personality and do things that they ordinarily wouldn't do. To be tempted to do things they ordinarily wouldn't do. So this is the sense of smell, and how the whole material world, there's an agenda. There's an agenda by Maya, using the intelligence of people, her agents, to create distractions for so many other people. And it's interesting, these fragrances, they can cost a huge amount of money. A normal working class person will think twice, save up for many, many months to buy some of these fragrances. Once I went in Dubai, we went to, I don't know which mall it was, some high-end mall. We were looking for fragrances for deities. And we went into one store, and this store, for a small, small, there's some technical names they have for the sizes, small amount, was like $2,500 just for a small amount. And the shopkeeper said, actually this is mid-range price. It's like, who pays for these things? And very few customers, maybe 0.0001% of the customers that are coming to that man's store is buying it for deities, for Krishna. Everyone's buying it for their own sense gratification. They are willing to pay so much of money. Before coming to class now, I did a quick research of what are the top feel-good aromas in the world today, according to current surveying. People have a lot of time on their hands. They do these surveys to find out what are the top feel-good aromas, right? So they are, listen to this, freshly baked bread. How does that sound to you all? Freshly baked. How does that, smell to you all? Freshly baked bread. Then, part of the top 10, cooking bacon. Our devotee is like, oh, come on. But for the majority of the world, it's like, wow, it's amazing. This is a nice one. Freshly cut grass. Ever thought of it? Next time Wiseman and Jerome are cutting grass, just take a walk there. Have a smell. This is a classic, which, coffee beans, freshly roasted coffee beans. A cake baking in the oven. I don't know whether it's the smell or the plan of what's to come that's making it smell so nicely. The cake, the seaside. I've seen aromas that they sell. Scent of the sea, scent of the beach, the name of it. Freshly laundered clothes. Especially after you've been wearing clothes that are not smelling nice. Freshly laundered clothes, washed clothes can. And then of course for those types of persons, a Sunday roast. Anyway, these are the top feel-good aromas in the world currently. And then, to balance it all, because we are all balanced devotees, the worst smells of the world. Well, this we know. Hydrogen sulfide. Any of you been in the presence of hydrogen sulfide? Oh, Haribol. Raw sewage. Corpse flour. There's a flour called corpse flour that apparently smells terrible. Rotting flesh. Gangrenous flesh. Thioacetone. And there's a fruit called the durian fruit that smells awful apparently. So all these smells, whether pleasant or not, we immediately can contort our faces even by hearing the name or the description of it without even smelling it. It hits us, all right? And the feel-good ones, we can get a sort of a sense goes through us from a mental perspective. We feel happy when we even hear the name of the scent or the description of it. And that's very good. That's very good that the mind and the intelligence are identifying based on even the name or the description of these smells or these aromas. But one has to consider that by me being pleased or what's the word, offended, put off by a sense of smell or the concept of a smell, am I doing it, am I responding on the basis of my like and dislike for something, how it pleases me or puts me off? Now this is, as a devotee, we have to appreciate this, because a conditioned living entity, a materialistically minded living entity, won't see the subtlety that's there. So is it me, for myself, my own pleasure, or am I thinking as I'm going through these experiences of all these aromas, whether good or bad, am I considering how Krishna would be affected by it? Just like these thousands of dollars for a small bottle of oil, would we be moved to buy it for ourselves and how nice it could make us smell? Or we first think how nice this could be if it could be offered to the deity of Krishna. Some months ago, I heard that the deity worship ministry or some representatives of the deity worship ministry in ISKCON started a program to go all over India or even other parts of the Middle East to find very good quality, authentic scents that are not tinged with any alcohol, because most scents that you buy, even in Vrindavan you buy, they mixed with some things for bulking and preservation, so it's not good for the deity. So they went through a lot of effort to find all these scents, and it was very nice to see that devotees are putting this effort to find things that are pleasing to the deity. Of course, we ourselves, based on our consciousness that we are in and what modes we are influenced are, we are the first point of testing to see what would be good for the deity. So it's not like, oh, the sabji that they cooked at the Raj Bhoga was, it actually tasted bad, but it doesn't matter. Because my taste is not what counts. Or if some pujari, I don't know, they may have some foot issue or something, and they took off their socks outside the altar, and it's smelling up the whole altar. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We can't be impersonal. That's a form of impersonalism. So if some sabji had too much of salt or chili in it, we mustn't think, it's fine, it's offered to Krishna, it's prasadam. No, but what about Krishna? What about his needs? How are things smelling for him and around him? Like many years ago, as a young pujari, one of our, very sweet old pujaris here, Mother Suniti, she cooked a sabji, and it turned out to be a little spicy. Everybody, one devotee, Parthasarathi Maharaj, who ate it, felt it was a bit spicy. So he called her, in a very affectionate way. He said, Mother Suniti, you must cook for Krishna thinking he is a 7-year-old child. Would you give a 7-year-old child such a sabji to eat, So yes, we are the first kind of point of determining whether something would be pleasant for Krishna or a putta for Krishna. But that first point of understanding also depends on our consciousness, what mode of nature we are in. Because depending on the mode that you're in, you will find something repulsive or you'll find something attractive, even in the sense of smelling things. For some people, smelling weird things is actually fine, and they happen to prefer it. It's interesting. It's like they keep smelling some rotten things, and it's okay, because they are influenced by the mode of ignorance. Whereas a Brahmanically minded person wouldn't want to taste, smell, or see anything that's repulsive. Just like Srila Prabhupada said once about the nature of a Brahman. He said, a Brahman and dirt cannot stay in the same place. One has to leave. One has to leave. Never stay in the same place. So similarly, based on our conditioning or the quality of our consciousness, of one's consciousness, that will determine whether one is determined to act in a way that's pleasing to Krishna or not act in a way that's pleasing to Krishna. Right? So yes, these senses are the mediating equipment, tools that help us interact based on our consciousness for the pleasure of Krishna or for the pleasure of our own mind and body. And this is the difference between bhakti and enjoyment, bhakti or bhukti. These senses, if we apply them in the service of Krishna, then these senses become purified, and they in turn regulate the mind to turn away from bhukti or sense gratification and turn towards thinking or being more focused on the pleasure of Krishna. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena. Yes, rishikena rishikesha. Sevanam bhaktir uchyate. That when one uses one's own senses to serve Rishikesh, and who is Rishikesh? He's the master of all the senses, not just his senses, but even our senses. So if he is the master of our senses, and our senses are engaged not in Rishikesh's service, then the senses are going against their purpose, what they are meant to do. But if we, through our intelligence, can employ the senses to serve Krishna, who is the master of all senses, then something amazing, two things happen. Rupa Goswami quotes this verse in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Where's that verse from? Where's the Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam verse from? Is it Narada Pancharatra? Yeah, Narada Pancharatra. So Rupa Goswami is using this definition of devotional service to say that, to show that by engaging the senses in the service of Krishna, Rishikesh, the master of all senses, a few things happen. First thing that happens is Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam. that all the mundane, material, temporary designations one has of oneself based on the body and relationships, that is destroyed, that is wiped out. And the one conception, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas, is very nicely uncovered. Not that it's established, it's there already, but all the coverings of all these other designations are wiped away. So one can act in that position as an eternal servant of Krishna. Then, Tatparatvena Nirmalam, that all the contaminations that one has are cleared away. Are cleared away. That's what happens. These senses become purified, that the senses automatically, without even a dictate from the intelligence, automatically and naturally is attracted by pleasing things in the mode of goodness. We find also that the sense of smell, the nostril, the functions of the nostrils, they can not only purify or elevate us as conditioned living entities by its proper use, but even transcendently situated personalities. Even liberated personalities can be further elevated simply by the sense of smell. Anybody remember which group of devotees or which group of personalities were elevated just by the sense of smell? The four Kumaras, yeah. So they were impersonalists, but by smelling the aroma of the tulsi leaves that are offered to the lotus feet of Narayan, of Krishna, they were able to get free from the trappings of impersonal understanding and then become devotees of Krishna and be situated in bhakti. Now this is a very important principle. Those tulsi leaves were offered to Krishna. Likewise, anything we smell or see or taste, if it's not offered to Krishna, not enjoyed by Krishna, then smelling them, well, tulsi, I would say tulsi is different because she's a Mahabhagavati, transcendently situated devotee. So even smelling her, seeing her, without her being offered to Krishna, because she's eternally offered to Krishna. But we don't go around now as an habit, cut tulsi and smell, without offering. But she's in a different category. But the principle is that if something's not offered to Krishna, just because it looks and smells nice doesn't mean we'll get elevated. It has to be offered to Krishna first, has to be enjoyed by Krishna first. So yes, smelling these flowers, these aromas of things that are offered first to the deity, to Krishna, tasting things that are offered and tasted by Krishna first, that is very powerful. Sometimes we are attending Aarti ceremony in the temple and the flowers go around. How many of us really deeply take it seriously? I remember that period a few years ago. We were too scared to smell the flowers, remember? Even I think there were some prescriptions that were sent down to us. Don't send the flowers around because of inhaling the virus, the COVID virus. We were told not to offer dandavat pranams on the floor, even because what if we inhale the virus? You all remember? Or maybe you all blocked it out of the memory, Psychology has that. Traumatic experiences can do that. We block out those experiences. But yeah, it's not just a simple thing, taking the flowers around and we smell it, touch it to our foreheads. Very powerful. If they can elevate the Kumaras to such a state, imagine what it can do for us, these flowers. Of course, we try to get fragrant flowers, not these commercially bulk generated flowers, but at least fragrant flowers for the pleasure of the deity. So yeah, it's very powerful. Next time flowers go around, think about it carefully. Let me smell this flower with devotion. Let me accept the tulsi. Let me accept the scents that are offered to the deity as well, those cotton buds, and cherish them, because this is in touch with Krishna and it has such potency. Another personality that we heard about yesterday, who also is celebrated for the very wonderful engagement of all his faculties, all his senses, all his limbs. We heard yesterday was Ambarish Maharaj. How he used everything in the service of Krishna. Saivai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo, like that. So he became celebrated. To the extent, we were hearing this beautiful description by Madan Mohan Prabhu in yesterday morning's class, how the Lord is explaining to Durvasa, who is running in fear from the Sudarshan Chakra because of his offense to Ambarish Maharaj, that devotees like Ambarish, by their constant engagement in my service, and always meditating on me, serving me, I no longer belong to myself. Whatever I am is the property of devotees like Ambarish. So you are speaking to me. I'm not listening to you because my ears are only with Ambarish. I can't tell you anything because all I can speak about is Ambarish. I don't even. You are not even here for me because I'm with Ambarish Maharaj. So this comes after, in a very dedicated, consistent, determined way, through guidance from the authorities, from the devotees, we are engaging our senses. We are engaging our senses in the service of Rishikesh. This is the result of what happens. Also, we should appreciate that, and we all have it as we aging, we must have this reality check. Just like I didn't think, 5-6 years ago I'd need glasses. And nowadays sometimes I'm like, what did you say, what was that? So the senses, these gates are also weakening over time. Don't take it for granted when you're young. I can't believe I can say that to people now. Don't take it for granted. Use your senses nicely. Use your mind nicely. Use your body intelligently. When older devotees used to tell us, like, what is he talking about, But now you can see it's slowing down. I remember and of course the one sense, the 6 senses including the mind, the one sense that sometimes practicing devotees forget to absorb in Krishna's service, it is the mind. And this has a challenge later on in life. Because we are so used to, following the program, engaging all our physical faculties in the service of Krishna. But then at a certain point in life, when, like I was describing, it all starts weakening and we cannot engage. It's not easy to walk to the temple, go on parikrama, go on harinam, distribute books. All you're left with is your mind. And one very wonderful devotee who was so active in preaching from Durban area, about 15 or 20 years ago, I can't remember when he passed away, but very active in Harinam, practically every other day going on Harinam, preaching, cooking, distributing prasadam. He was lamenting to me that I don't know what to do. I'm in this bed, struggling with cancer, and I cannot move, and I'm so frustrated that I cannot do anything. It's because he didn't train his mind to be engaged in Krishna's service. During the time that he was engaging his senses, he wasn't absorbing his mind. I remember Swami Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj always quotes, he doesn't reveal who the devotee is, but he often quotes this point, that it's true that it's very important to be absorbed in service to Krishna. This elder devotee told Maharaj that it's very important to be absorbed in service, but do you know it's also a service to be absorbed? Understand the difference? That your mind must also be invested in thinking of Krishna, in meditating on Krishna by hearing and chanting. Otherwise, when we come to a stage where the hands cannot work, you're going blind, you can't hear, then it's just the mind. And if we hadn't practiced for many years how to absorb the mind as our service, then we'll find some difficulties later on. Because the mind is, Chanchalahi, Mana Krishna. This is Arjuna speaking, that, to control the mind is more difficult than trying to harness the wind. So yeah. And then I just wanted to read a section from almost the very end of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, about the most amazing activities of Lord Chaitanya that are described in his state of madness, in ecstasy of love of Krishna. There's a beautiful description there that we'll go through, and we can try and use that to absorb our mind as well. And what does it mean to be attracted by the scent of Krishna's form? It's quite something. So the background is that Lord Chaitanya, he's in this final many years of madness and love of Krishna, in separation from Krishna, and he's discussing with his closest associates, Srila Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar Goswami, and the physical expressions that are there in Lord Chaitanya's form and his behavior is just so painful from a devotee's point of view, rubbing his face against the walls of the Gambhira room that he used to stay in the property of Kashi Mishra. And then, so Swarup Damodar Goswami and others, they arranged for one devotee, Sankara Pandit, to stay, to sleep with Lord Chaitanya, just in case he escapes or hurts himself in the room. So he would sleep, and it's described that Shankara Pandit became known as the pillow of Lord Chaitanya. The Lord would put his legs on Imagine that fortune of this devotee. I don't know who Shankara Pandit was in Krishna Leela, but what a great fortune. The Lord's legs are resting on him, and he would fall asleep massaging the Lord's lotus feet, and sometimes the Lord would get up and cover him with his cloth, and then Shankara would get up again and continue massaging. So there's a description like that going on, that one day Lord Chaitanya, in that state of maddened ecstasy and separation from Krishna, he visited the nearby gardens, Jagannath Vallabha gardens, and as he was going through, he's becoming very enamored by the beautiful scents of the flowers in the garden. And then suddenly, he sees Krishna, and he runs to Krishna, but Krishna disappears, and all he's left with is the fragrance of Krishna's body. And so we'll read of that experience of the Lord. Okay. So this is text 78 of chapter 19 of the Antya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. One full moon night in the month of Vaishakha. Guess what's Vaishakha month? April, May. So walk around the garden and meditate on Lord Chaitanya during this month. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to a garden. The Lord, along with his devotees, entered one of the nicest gardens called Jagannath Vallabha. In the garden were fully blossomed trees and creepers, exactly like those in Vrindavan. Bumblebees and birds like the shuka, shari, and pika talked with one another. A mild breeze was blowing, carrying the fragrance of aromatic flowers. The breeze had become a guru and was teaching all the trees and creepers how to dance. You can understand why Krishnadas has the title Kaviraj, right? Just these. Of course, I'm reading it in English, and how beautiful it sounds. Can you imagine for those who understand Bengali when they read it, how he definitely is Kaviraj. Brightly illuminated by the full moon, the trees and creepers glittered in the light. The 6 seasons, especially spring, seemed present there. Seeing the garden, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was very happy. In this atmosphere, the Lord had his associates sing the verse from the Gita Govinda, beginning with the words, Lalita Lavanga Lata, as he danced and wandered about with them. As he thus wandered around every tree and creeper, he came beneath an Ashoka tree and suddenly saw Lord Krishna. When he saw Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began running very swiftly, but Krishna smiled and disappeared. Having gotten Krishna and then lost him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell to the ground unconscious. The entire garden was filled with the scent of Lord Sri Krishna's transcendental body. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smelled it, he fell unconscious at once. But the scent of Krishna's body incessantly entered his nostrils, and the Lord became mad to relish it. Srimati Radharani once spoke a verse to her gopi friends, describing how she hankers for the transcendental scent of Krishna's body. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited that same verse and made its meaning clear. So this is what Srimati Radharani speaks. The scent of Krishna's transcendental body surpasses the aroma of musk and attracts the minds of all women. The 8 lotus-like parts of his body distribute the fragrance of lotuses mixed with that of camphor. His body is anointed with the aromatic substances like musk, camphor, sandalwood, and aguru. O my dear friend, that personality of Godhead, who also known as the enchanter of Cupid, always increases the desire of my nostrils. Then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami continues, the scent of Krishna's body surpasses the fragrances of musk and the bluish lotus flower. Spreading throughout the 14 worlds, it attracts everyone and makes the eyes of all women blind. My dear friend, the scent of Krishna's body enchants the entire world. It especially enters the nostrils of women and remains seated there. Thus it captures them and forcibly brings them to Krishna. Krishna's eyes, navel, and face, hands and feet are like 8 lotus flowers on his body. From those 8 lotuses emanates a fragrance like a mixture of camphor and lotus. That is the scent associated with his body. When sandalwood pulp is mixed with aguru, kumkum, musk and camphor and spread on Krishna's body, it combines with Krishna's own original bodily perfume and seems to cover it. The scent of Krishna's transcendental body is so attractive that it enchants the bodies and minds of all women. It bewilders their nostrils, loosens their belts and hair, and makes them mad women. All the women of the world come under its influence, and therefore the scent of Krishna's body is like a plunderer. Falling completely under its influence, the nostrils yearn for it continuously, although sometimes they obtain it and sometimes not. When they do drink their fill, though they still want more and more, but if they don't, out of thirst, they die. The dramatic actor Madan Mohan has opened a shop of scents that attract the women of the world to be his customers. He delivers the scents freely, but they make the women all so blind so that they cannot find their path returning home. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his mind thus stolen by the scent of Krishna's body, ran here and there like a bumblebee. He ran to the trees and plants, hoping that Lord Krishna would appear, but instead he found only that scent. Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki. So it's late now, so we can stop and go to breakfast and taste the wonderful remnants of Krishna's prasadam. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.